From a tweet by Dave Meltzer to a record-breaking indie show to the second largest wrestling company in North America, the story of All Elite Wrestling is as intriguing and uplifting as it is complicated and frustrating. But we are not here to talk about any of the bad stuff today. God knows we've done enough of that over the years. Instead, we are going to discuss some of the amazing storylines and feuds that have defined the promotion during its relatively short lifespan. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best rivalries in AEW history so far. Join us! Number 10, Orange Cassidy vs. Pac. Initially a comedy act, but now bona fide championship material, Orange Cassidy's career trajectory in AEW has been truly wonderful to watch. Unless you're Jim Cornette. People started to realize that this denim-loving layabout might be something special during his first match with a man who, on the surface, was his complete opposite. Cassidy vs. Pac from the first Revolution show in 2020 was a sleeper hit in the truest sense. It was given just a single week of build, but good lord did it deliver. The next major meeting between the pair was during a three-way for Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship at Double or Nothing 2020, which was another banger. They wouldn't cross paths in singles capacity until late 2022 in a pair of matches for the Angry Geordies All-Atlantic Championship. That's what the International Championship was called before AEW realized how confusing and clunky its original name was. Whilst Pac retained the first time around due to hammer-based shenanigans, Cassidy finally got one over on his miserable foe, pinning the bastard to win his first singles gold in the company. In the words of Pac himself, "Reet good job you've done there, Bonnie lad." Number 9, The Elite vs. Blackpool Combat Club. Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, The Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, Claudio Castagnoli. These are just some of the all-star names involved in this rivalry between two of the biggest stables in AEW history. What began as the Blackpool Combat Club picking on Paige soon turned into a full-on skirmish between the BCC and Hangman's friends in The Elite. Friends is in the biggest inverted commas of all time, by the way. In a storyline that also encompassed Omega's feud with Don Callis, this is where Don turned on his charge by screwdrivering him in the head, the two units faced off in 3 major matches in quick succession. The first was Anarchy in the Arena at Double or Nothing, which the BCC won after Konosuke Takeshita turned on the Elite. Then came a match at Forbidden Door, where the good guys got their win back with the help of Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii. Finally came Blood and Guts, a near-hour-long match which the Elite won by beating the toffee out of Wheeler Yuta. Poor Wheeler Yuta. Big stars, big matches, and a big win for AEW. Number 8, Jon Moxley vs. Eddie Kingston. The first recorded singles match between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston took place in front of about 250 people in 2011. The next time they went one-on-one, it was on Dynamite in 2020 for Moxley's world title. Ironically, their first meeting actually had more people in attendance, but that's pandemic wrestling for you. Upon crossing paths in AEW, Mox and Kingston drew on their real-life friendship to deliver some of the most compelling and naturalistic promos the company had seen up to that point. When Mox beat Kingston on Dynamite, he did so by making him pass out, not tap out, setting the stage for a vicious I Quit rematch in the main event of Full Gear. The pair would rekindle their friendship after Eddie saved his buddy from being lightly sparkled to death at Revolution 2021, starting a tag team run. When Mox started to get friendly with Claudio, who Kingston was not the biggest fan of, shall we say, they were at each other's throats again, including during the Stadium Stampede match at Wembley's All In. Who better to chuck you through a barbed wire board than one of your oldest friends, eh? Number 7, Darby Allin vs. Cody Rhodes. Doesn't this feel like a lifetime ago? Fyter Fest 2019 was just the second pay-per-view under the All Elite Wrestling banner in a time before Dynamite even existed. Cody, fresh off an all-time great match with his brother Dustin, was competing against the relatively unknown Darby Allin. By the end of the night, everyone knew his name. Darby and Cody fought to a time-limit draw as the more experienced Rhodes just couldn't put away his younger, more tenacious opponent. This would be the start of a mentor-manatee relationship, that's the right word, isn't it? That would last for pretty much the rest of Cody's time in the company. Cody defeated Darby in their next 2 encounters, once on the New Year's Day 2020 edition of Dynamite, and then once in the tournament to crown the first ever TNT champion. It was at Full Gear 2020 where this story reached its peak. In a sign of just how far the young daredevil had come, Alan rolled up his mantar, again that's the right word, to finally defeat the American Nightmare and claim the belt for his own. Number 6, CM Punk vs Eddie Kingston. Good things come in small packages, at least that's what I told my doctor during my last physical, Knob joke. Another example of this is the AEW rivalry between the volatile pairing of CM Punk and Eddie Kingston, which lasted just a handful of weeks and comprised of just 11 minutes of in-ring action. The build-up to the pair's match at Full Gear 2021 was incredibly simple. Kingston interrupted a backstage interview with Punk, the two traded some suitably sharp barbs on an episode of Dynamite, and then they had their match. That was it. As much as everyone loves a slow-cooked, carefully marinated leg of lamb, sometimes you're just in the mood for a quick and dirty bacon sandwich, you know? And that is exactly what this rivalry was. Nothing fancy, but incredibly effective and also potentially dangerous to your health. The fact that this feud is still talked about in hushed tones to this day, despite its lifespan being that of your average housefly, is a testament to how good it was. It made Eddie look like a total badass, brought a new dimension to Punk's return, and in many ways set the stage for what was to come with the Chicago native. Number 5, Dr. Britt Baker DMD vs Thunder Rosa. The only women's rivalry on this list, because Tony Khan isn't as different from Vince McMahon as he would like to think, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa is still the gold standard when it comes to AEW's all-female feuds. It was at Beach Break 2021 where these two first locked horns, all leading to their now legendary Lights Out match in the main event of St. Patrick's Day Slam. This was the first time two women had closed out an episode of Dynamite, although technically Lights Out matches are unsanctioned and don't officially happen. Classic Tony finding a way out of booking more women's matches. After one of the best and bloodiest women's matches North America had seen for some time, it would be a full year before the pair met one-on-one again, this time at Revolution 2022 for Baker's women's title. Though the dentist successfully retained that night, she was unable to overcome the Latina star in a steel cage rematch as Rosa snapped her 290-day reign as champ. Supposed real-life heat between the pair means we might never see this classic rivalry reignited, but considering just how good everything these two did together was, it's hard to complain. Number 4, Jon Moxley vs Kenny Omega. Though one of them has certainly had a better AEW rivalry than this one, there was no way we could ignore one of the feuds that helped solidify the promotion during its infancy. The closing shot of the first official AEW broadcast, Double or Nothing 2019, was Jon Moxley standing over a fallen Kenny Omega, whom he just yeeted off a giant stack of poker chips. This was meant to lead to the pair having a match at All Out, but Mox went down with an injury, delaying their first meeting until Full Gear. Luckily, this resulted in an absolutely barbaric Lights Out match, so people didn't really mind waiting. Omega and Moxley were then kept apart for over a year until Winter is Coming 2020, where the Cleaner became the first man to pin Mox in AEW when he ended his world title reign. This led to various tag matches, the exploding barbed wire crap show match, and much later down the line, the previously discussed BCC versus Elite business. A rivalry that's lasted the entire course of AEW, you get the feeling that Moxley and Omega might be destined to do this forever. I, for one, am not complaining. Number 3, the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks versus FTR. Yep, it's another cheat entry. What are you gonna do, sue us? Love them or hate them, there is no denying that the Young Bucks have been at the heart of tag team wrestling in AEW. When it came to choosing their best dance partners, it came down to a pair of masked luchadors and two gruff southerners, and we just couldn't split them up. The Lucha Brothers were the Bucks' first AEW opponents as they faced off at the original Double or Nothing. Over the next several years, they competed in ladder matches, trios matches, and a steel cage clash that some people would rank amongst the best matches in AEW history. As for FTR, Dax and Cash were dream opponents for Matt and Nick long before AEW was even a thing. They've also put on some of the greatest tag bouts the promotion has ever seen, from their first meeting at Full Gear 2020 to their encounter in Wembley. Call me a fence sitter if you want, but I can't hear you and I don't read the comments anymore anyway, so there. Number 2, CM Punk versus MJF. For the many problems CM Punk reportedly caused backstage in AEW, his stuff on TV was always pretty damn good. His rekindled feud with Samoa Joe? Brilliant. His spat with Eddie Kingston? So good it's already been on this list. The dispute with Team Taz? Not great, but it did give us those send hook memes. However, when it comes to the very best, there is only 3 letters we need to discuss. The moment Punk first entered MJF's orbit, fans knew they were going to witness greatness. 2 outspoken egomaniacs who were lightning on the microphone and capable of doing hideous things to their enemies were now up against each other. This was gonna get spicy. Just everything about this storyline ruled. The promos, the real-life history between the two, MJF's apparent face turn and then further descent into darkness, Wardlow finally getting his chance to shine. They accomplished so much while somehow only sharing the ring 3 times, only 2 of which were singles bouts. Cerebral, emotional, dramatic, and violent, CM Punk vs MJF is one of the great wrestling storylines of the 21st century. Number 1, Kenny Omega vs Hangman Adam Page. A storyline that had been bubbling away since the inaugural AEW show. A rivalry that created one of the most cherished babyfaces in modern wrestling history. The main event plot that made AEW the hottest wrestling brand in the world. What I'm saying is that Kenny Omega vs Adam Page was very good. Hangman and Omega used to be the best of friends until Paige's distrust of the Young Bucks drove a wedge between them. Once they lost their tag team championships, Omega went evil, which culminated when he defeated his former partner to earn a shot at Jon Moxley's AEW World title. Throughout Kenny's entire reign, the spectre of the Hangman hung over him. The anxious millennial cowboy was slowly rebuilding his confidence thanks to the Dark Order, eventually leading to the biggest main event match in AEW to date, Paige vs Omega for the world title at Full Gear 2021. I know a lot of fans weren't into Hangman's title reign, but everything that came before it was truly gold. And hey, if fans want to read more about the trials and tribulations of Omega and Paige, I would heartily recommend purchasing my The Cowboy and the Cleaner Great Fighters Make Better Lovers fanfic. All 400 pages can be yours for just $69.